Alright, Shalom. First, I can start by saying all praise to Yahweh Shema Shai. Double honor to those and apostles that rule well. And salutations to the brothers that are doing the work in the truth and in sincerity. Now, this basically right is a video on what's going on with what is it? I think North Dakota with Gad, and you might have a little bit of Reuben intermingled in there with them. But basically, what you're gonna see is how Esau is basically taking their land from them. I'm not gonna watch the whole thing. I'm just probably watch a couple minutes of it and bring out some scriptures on the topic. But here we go.
I'm Amy Goodman. Today we're looking at the ongoing standoff at Standing Rock in North Dakota, where thousands of Native American water defenders and their non-Native allies are resisting the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline. Well, in recent months, the repression against the water protectors and journalists covering the movement has continued to intensify. The state of North Dakota has approved $10 million to police the ongoing protest. And Morton County Sheriff Kyle Kirkmeyer has called in hundreds of deputies from neighboring states. North Dakota Governor Jack Dalrymple has also activated the National Guard. Riot police with military-grade equipment have attacked the Native American protectors with pepper spray, tear gas, beanbag rounds, rubber bullets, and sound cannons called LRADs. That's long-range acoustic device. Water protectors also report near-constant surveillance from police planes and helicopters. Over 400 people have been arrested so far, and many report being subjected to strip searches while in the Morton County Jail in North Dakota.
All right. Now, I'm going to bring out this scripture. This is Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Right, and this is one of the coincidence. This is one of the instances where the devil was coming down upon Jake, because towards the end of the video, the spokesperson, not the lady, it's the guy that's in charge of the Indigenous Environmental Network. He's a Indian himself, Indian Gad. He might be Gad himself. He states that that these police came in and tried to take over their land, which they had laid claim to, and when they found out the people that's supposed to run the pipeline through their land, Slakia, the corporation that's supposed to be running the pipeline through their land, when they found out, they got upset and sent in the troops, man. So Jake is being looked at as enemies towards these Edomite devils, man. And this is another instance of or situation on basically what happened in during the times of slavery and America colonizing itself, man. Because this is how they did Jake in the beginning. Did Gad in the beginning, Slakia.
Dakota. Well, on October 31st, we spoke with Dakota and Diné Nation activist Dallas Goldtooth of the Indigenous Environmental Network about a violent police raid on a frontline camp established at the site of the same sacred tribal burial ground where unlicensed Dakota Access security guards attacked Native Americans with dogs and pepper spray on September 3rd. Dallas Goldtooth began...
And that's illegal. That's basically them, starting up like a provocation to a riot type. Because if they're not licensed, one, they're not supposed to be out there, or that's a fine in itself and jail time in itself. You have to have a license to be in certain so-called police force, security forces. If you don't have the license, then you're not authorized to go out there, and you'll be looked at as a regular civilian, man. So they really went up there to start like a riot or something, man. Them like just a little small picture of what a race riot could, how you can start a race riot, basically.
By telling us about shocking video footage that emerged from the day of the raid of a man who worked with the Dakota Access Pipeline. He was a pipeline guard, but he was wearing a bandana covering his face, carrying a rifle, apparently attempting to infiltrate a group of water protectors.
Thanks for having me
Agent
on, Amy.
Provocateur.
That moment I was there when this gunman, was cornered into the middle of this pond nearby, and it was a very terrifying moment for a lot of us watching. I mean, to see this man pointing an assault rifle at our water protectors, and I think that many blessings and gratitude to some of the military veterans within our security, from within our Ochechi Shakoi camp, who stepped up to negotiate and to de-escalate this man, to really talk to him to make sure that he did not hurt anybody, until the Bureau of Indian Affairs police officers could show up. Your description is accurate. Individuals, our security teams on the ground, noticed this man driving erratically, driving at high speeds through a crowded street.
Salakia.
Through the crowded highway, and they did their very best to incapacitate the vehicle, and did their very best to de-escalate the situation, which they were successful in doing. I think that...
Explain who you understand he is.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, we found two documents that listed him as a Dakota Access worker, and he himself, as I've understood, to even our security, stated that he worked for Dakota Access, and so it was pretty straightforward. I think that he's a security contractor that has been hired by Dakota Access to guard its equipment, from what I believe, or at least to protect the workers or whatever it may be. I think that it's pretty terrifying to know that Dakota Access has infiltrators within our camp, is paying for individuals like this, armed individuals, to create situations of escalation, potentially creating very, very dangerous situations. We don't know what his intention could have been. He could have, fired upon police, creating a situation where the police think it's coming from our protectors when it's not. I mean, it goes hand in hand with this series of mysterious situations that really creates a situation where we have to feel suspicious about what Dakota Access intentions are. And it just clearly paints that Dakota Access has no regard for common decency or any kind of corporate responsibility. And it's really surprising that people are still investing in this company.
Right. That's why the scriptures say never trust thy enemy, man. You can't trust these white people, man. But yeah, that's basically what you call an agent provocateur. Basically trying to get them natives killed, man. They're just trying to get Gad killed, man.
Dakota Access Pipeline responded to this video.
From what I understand, the initial response from Dakota Access is that they state that this individual does not work for Dakota Access, even though he had clear identification as a Dakota Access.
I mean, it said, you see the ID, it says Kyle Thompson. Is that right?
Yes. His name's on it. The insurance that found in the truck belongs to Dakota Access. He has an ID card with DAPL written on it. I mean, how much more evidence do you need?
And did he say what his intentions were as people surrounded him, as the police, the Bureau of Indian Affairs police, arrested him?
There's a variety of accounts, but it was from what I understood, that was told to me that he was tasked with also identifying being within the crowd, watching internally with the crowd, and that there was some suggestion that he might have been tasked with instigating some sort of violence from within the crowd and to garner a reaction from law enforcement. I mean, that's just what I've heard from different folks that were talking with him in that moment to de-escalate the situation.
Now, if you could talk about the fire that was set, where did it happen, and what you understand was its origin?
Now, this happened last night. This was 2 nights ago. It was just to the immediate west of the Ochechi Shakoi camp, across Highway 1806. There was some mysterious incident of a vehicle that came out of nowhere that was almost acting as a distraction, was making spitting donuts in the middle of the road, and then it sped off to the south. And immediately after that, flames were seen on top of the hill to the west. There's a lot of there's documented footage that what appears to be a drip line, which is from what I understand is a technique used in firefighting. I mean, it was very, very clear that brush fire that happened was an act of arson. by unknown individuals, but given the recent events with the Dakota Access Worker, given the escalation of law enforcement, that a lot of fingers are pointing towards Dakota Access that as being a culprit behind this late fire. And thank God that the wind was pushing away from the camp. Yep. The fire spread pretty large. And the thing that's most disturbing to me is this, Amy, is that
now all this is happening is because Gad doesn't know who he is according to the scriptures, man. If Gad knew who he was according to the scriptures, he wouldn't have been out there from the beginning. He would be preparing himself for what's to come, through the spirit of power, Yahweh Shema Shai. But since Gad want to worship spirits and idols, Gad is being put in that specific predicament to where them women, them kids, the elderly, the tribal leaders, the young men, the young boys, gonna be killed for being out there, man. And it's only gonna get worse, man. That's just the start, or one thing that that's just the start of a mass riot, because all over the country, and really all over the world, but all over the country, this is being done in some way, some form, some fashion. But as far as up in the USA, they showing it on the news. Like they give you a clip here, a clip there, and then certain movements rise up to do something about it and protest, and then the protests turn into the police beating up the protesters, and then it's just gonna spiral out of control real soon, man. But I'm gonna go to let me see. Slack you. All right, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 15. I'm gonna start at verse 12. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, and their seed shall fail through the blasting hail and with a fearful constellation. Woe unto the world and them that dwell therein. Right, as you can see, these Gadites are in mourning right now, man. And Egypt is talking about America, so the whole world, the whole Egypt, America, is in mourning because of the plagues. This is a plague that the Lord bringing upon them Gadites, man. It says, they that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail, and will fill for constellations, because ultimately they're going to be hit by nuclear missiles. It says, woe unto the world and them that dwell therein, destruction. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. Right, so this is just a catalyst to a race riot kicking off, man. It says, for there should be sedition among men, and invading one another uprisings, invading one another house robberies. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, because pretty soon Gad gonna snap, and the rest of the tribes gonna join with Gad in snapping. And you know what these natives and Judites and Benjamin and the 12 tribes in general are starting to recognize that we all went through the same thing, and we have one specific enemy in common. Well, we have two specific enemy in common. Well, more than that, but the main enemy, Slakia, is Esau and our people that's protecting Esau and protecting these other nations. Slakia. It says, and the course of their action shall stand in their power, right? So it's going to come a time to where Gad going to rise up and get their revenge, and it's going to be all types of chaos and fighting and invading and killing one another with all types of weaponry. It says, a man shall desire to go in the city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Right. Behold, said Yahweh, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Libanus, to turn themselves one against another and repay the things that they have done to them. To who? To Israel. So that's the only reason why all this is going down the way it's going down. Is because these white people, these Edomite devils, have to pay for putting us in slavery, and the other nations are going to pay too. But Esau is going to get it the worst. Okay, I'm gonna jump to this scripture. This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 1. No, I'm sorry, verse 2. It says, "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." Right, so those are race riots, man. It says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof." Right. "And they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards." Right. And they going to seek to them idols. And Gad was famous for that, man, seeking to them spirits that they worship. "And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, said the Lord Yahweh, the Lord of hosts." Right. And that's Donald Trump. Donald Trump can be that king, man. And ultimately, it's the elites, because the elites is bringing down the agendas, and all that shit is being passed through Trump to the rest of the people, man. This very much can be the year that they push the RFID chip, and, Yahweh Shah can come back, man. But if you're out there protesting and observing, and, spectating, and all that extra shit, you wouldn't notice. This is Judges chapter. Judges chapter 10, verse 12. It says, "The Zidonians also and the Amalekites, which fake Jews, and the Moabites did oppress you," and the Esau's oppressing Jake in this instance. "And ye cried to me, and I delivered you out of their hand." Right. And as you can see that he's saying they crying to the Native American Bureau police force. They're not crying to you. How about Shmuel Shai? It says, "Yet ye have forsaken me, yet ye have forsaken me, and served other gods. Wherefore I will deliver you no more." Right. So that's what God has to look forward to, not being delivered unless they're the elect, because they worship the moon gods, Mother Earth. When we was in school, they used to call it the totem pole, and they had different types of animals and stuff, and they was worshiping that shit, man. And they even tried to have us dab into that shit a little bit as we was coming up as kids, man. It says, "Go and cry unto the gods which ye have chosen. Let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation." Right, so Gad and them in for a rude awakening, man.
When on October 27th, when the police attacked our peaceful protectors at the Frontline Treaty Camp, the excuse they used to move upon that camp was so that they could clear a barricade that we set up, a temporary barricade that we set up, so that emergency services could be delivered to the Achetishakoi camp, our main camp.
But this is the real reason why they attacked that camp, raided that camp, persecuted that camp, so on and so forth. This is John chapter 10, verses 10. It says, the thief, which is them Edomite devils, coming not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. Right, and that's the reason why they did that, because they came to kill, they came to take the land, and to destroy the people, etc., etc. It says, I am come that they might have life. That's why we put these videos up, because you can have a Gadite that then went through that situation that was down there, that got locked up, everything. Now he's in the house, chilling and shit, waiting for the next day to go out. And then he so happened to run into one of these videos telling them what's going on. And then he wakes up and then he tells his family and, so on and so forth. It says, I am come that they might have life. Yahweh came so we can have the truth. And that they might have it more abundantly. See?
Their reason for moving on, using rubber bullets and pepper spray and concussion grenades upon our water protectors was so that they could have access to deliver emergency services, ambulances, and fire equipment if needed to the main camp. So why is it that a number of days later, when a fire actually does happen, they refuse? The Morton County Sheriff ignores the calls and pleas for help and does not send any ambulances or fire trucks to the place that they stated that they need to get to. Why is it that there was no delivery of any kind of services until 6 hours later by the National Guard, who brought in a helicopter to drop water on a fire that had at that point already been put out? Why is it that Bureau of Indian Affairs officers who were on site with a medical emergency service, with firefighting equipment, who were not allowed to combat that fire without explicit permission from Morton County? They never received that permission. They asked. Morton County never gave them the permission to fight that fire.
That's why the scriptures say, like I said in the beginning, never trust thine enemy. This is Ecclesiasticus. No, this is Ecclesiasticus. Chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy. For like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Right, so they depended on these white people to come help them out when the fire was started, when all that chaos was breaking out, but they never got help. How you going to trust in the same people or the same nation of people that's trying to take you off of land with all types of rubber bullets and other weaponry, and you don't have any weapons, man? You trusting these people to stop doing what they doing, and you trusting in other police officers, which that's fucking crazy, man. These tribes is crazy, man. But yeah, they trusting in the police force to fight the police force when they all on the same team, basically. The National Guard got called. You got the military police down there. You got the sheriffs and regular officers, and you trusting in other police officers to help you and other people that's of that fold and of them secret societies to come and help you, man. Y'all okay. It says Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like his iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed of, beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that the rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Right? Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked wherewith. Right, and it's what they trying to do. They trying to overtake Gad and take that land and build that pipeline and take it through all the way to I think it was to Illinois somewhere, man. That's the whole goal. Never trust thy enemy, man.
They just let it burn. I mean, it's obvious collusion between Morton County and the Dakota Access Pipeline. And when that collusion is causing a very, very dangerous situation for our water protectors and for the main camp that houses women, children, elders, and just people that care and love for the land and are there for one sole purpose, to protect the water.
Dallas, we got word that a horse had to be put down.
All right, that's the last scripture. This is Ezekiel chapter 9, verse, I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, He cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, Cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. That's some angels. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand, and one man among them was clothed with linen, with a rider's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the Most High, the power of Israel, was upon him. It's like it was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he was to the threshold of the house, and he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the rider's inkhorn by his side. And the Lord Yahweh said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, which is them Gadites, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that cry at that side, and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Right. So that's for the elect. Because we getting tired of this shit, man. The heart is our way of the elect. And to the others he said in mine hearing, Go ye after him through the city and smite. Smite means to kill. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children, and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. Right. So everybody is being marked, man.
After being shot with rubber bullets by police, is this true?
That is true. When the police moved ahead to clear out the frontline camp to the far east, a number of our warriors, our horseback riders, actually, it was a really beautiful moment.
Yeah, you see, they still hold on
we
to
had
the
a
traditions.
wall
They
of
say
police
warriors,
backed
because
by
God is a
armored
warrior.
personnel
Yeah,
carriers, and there was Humvees up on the hill with snipers on top of them, aimed at our water protectors, and we're being pushed back, and batons are being swung, cracking over the heads and arms of our water protectors. And then we look to the east, and over the hills to the east comes a herd of a couple hundred buffalo, bison, roaming, stampeding towards the police line. And it was like a beautiful moment because people saw this herd of buffalo, and this like cheer came up from the crowd, because it was like this, like almost like our fight was being recognized by the four-legged nation of the bison. And
that's what he went off at, man. That's going back to the scripture on the idols, man. You're not supposed to be worshiping no idols, no animals, no nothing, man. That was the spirit of Yahweh Shai, showing Gad that, you with them, and showing us that the Lord basically is stirring this shit up, basically. Salakia.
Immediately behind them came some horseback riders, some young riders, men and women, who were actually guiding these buffalo.
And I guarantee you this used to happen a whole lot, during the times that, these Edomites tried to take down Gad, Reuben, and various other tribes, man. The spirit of the Lord headed to where they was trained and taught to use these animals to fight back, against these devils, man. Because everything that we see now is reincarnated. So they knew how to use these animals to help fight against whomsoever they was into it with during them times, man.
Buffalo towards the police line in an act of resistance and defiance. The police immediately responded by flying a helicopter extremely low. They were flying 30 feet off the ground to scare the buffalo off.
See, that's a real battle, real war going on right there, man. Because they ground troops, Esau ground troops, couldn't handle the pressure from the Gadites and the animals that they used to attack them police officers. The police officers would have been really fucked up if this was like the ancient world type situation, man.
And then they deployed ATVs to attack the horseback riders. They were shot with rubber bullets. They were shot. There was concussion grenades that were fired at the horseback riders. One of the horseback riders was pulled off their horse, and sadly, one horse was injured so badly by the police that it had to be put down. And so those horseback riders have since been honored and have been given war deeds recognized as warriors, and have been given honors as warriors because of the deeds that they did that day.
Dallas, before you go, can you give us the overall context of why, what happened on Thursday and Friday? Why the escalated police presence, the roadblocks, the MRAP, the LRAD, the sound cannons, the armored vehicles. What is taking place now? Where is the building of the pipeline happening? And has, as the Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Chair Dave Archambault said on Democracy Now! Friday, has the ask called for the Justice Department to intervene to stop the pipeline from moving forward?
We haven't heard any response from the Department of Justice to intervene to protect our civil rights on the ground as water protectors. There's been silence on that end. And right now, we're in a dire situation, Amy. Like, the pipeline is literally within miles of the Missouri River. I mean, they cannot cross the Missouri River, but we need to do everything in our power to keep it from getting to that place. And so with that in heart, we had established a frontline camp, a treaty camp, right on the Dakota Access easement, on Dakota Access, what they call their own land, but really is our land as Oceti-Sakowin people. We enacted a form of eminent domain, claiming the land back for ourselves as Oceti-Sakowin folks. And we set up a beautiful encampment on that piece of property, which severely threatened Dakota Access and obviously Morton County Sheriff for their intents to build this pipeline. And so they came in with a large force, and you described, a lot of the equipment that was there, and it was terrifying. I mean, we had elders, women, and children who were put at severe risk because of the actions of law enforcement. A lot of folks know the Ponca leader, Casey Camp. She stood in.
I damn near finished the whole thing, man. But this is the last scripture right here. This is Genesis chapter 49, verse 19. Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. Shalom.